Hi, so this is a CAMI lesson that I thought may be useful in my class. I teach chemistry and we do a unit on solutions. And a lot of the work that we still use kind of comes from older sources. And so the worksheet that you see here is very similar to some that we use kind of periodically throughout this unit. And so they look a little different. Sometimes they're calculations, but there is a lot of vocab that goes along with this. So I thought this would be a useful tool to, one, help them out with the vocab and try to make it a little bit more collaborative and maybe even create some of their own questions. So looking at this first page, they have some vocab words. What I thought about using CAMI for is, first of all, just having them look up the Oxford definitions for these, because sometimes in context they can be slightly different, for chemistry at least. And so I just gave an example of going over to the dictionary over here, and then I put in the dictionary definition that was provided for concentration. So I thought, even if they didn't put it on their paper, or they could put it on their paper like I did with concentration, maybe first start having them just look up the definitions. Then I thought it would be helpful to look for keywords in the text. So I did the markup function to kind of hit on some key points. There's some words here that hopefully once they learn the definitions should make it very clear what the definition is. And some of the words are just a little extra information that isn't necessary to actually figure out what the definition should be that goes in there. So I thought the markup tool would be helpful and just kind of narrowing down what information they really need from those questions. And then they go into a portion of the worksheet where we get into some calculations. And so I also thought maybe the markup portion would be helpful here, to where they could go in and just highlight the numbers, because that's one of the things that we really push is labels. And so maybe doing the markup function just to pick on the numbers and the units. And then they have a few more follow-up questions once they get through these calculations to kind of answer at the end. So through this process, do they really understand the difference between molality and molarity, and how are those calculations different? And hopefully they can kind of answer these questions after they get through these calculations. So this is just an idea of what I thought I could use in CAMI. We have several activities that I think I could do in CAMI and do very similarly, like with the definitions. The markup feature is really nice. I like that. The text box. I've also used the voice comment before. So if students are having any difficulties with any of these calculations, they could leave me a little voice comment about what their difficulties are. I chose this assignment because, again, this is one that looks very similar to some others that we do. So I thought if this was a lesson that I could use, that there would be multiple lessons I could do this with too. So I thought it could kind of be a little bit more broad for me. So that's why I chose this lesson. And as far as my goals for collaboration and creation for this one, as far as collaboration goes, we do a stations activity where students will go through our room and work out these same types of problems together, as a group, and that way they can kind of just work off of each other. If they have questions, they have another partner, a couple partners to work with. So I thought this could even be something that could be a group project in CAMI together too, where they can each kind of collaborate and each kind of work through the questions together. As far as creation goes, I would really like to see them maybe even come up with their own questions. So in a continuation of this activity, maybe develop some of their own calculations for these same types of questions and come up with something that's reasonable, not just putting numbers down, but what are some reasonable masses? What are some reasonable volumes? When in a real life situation would you really need to calculate the concentration of something? So I thought I could use that for the creation piece of this too.